Hey guys, it's your friend Min here, and in this video I want to show off the second expansion of the League of Explorers, and this would be of course the Mineshafts of Uldaman. And the specific thing that I want to show off is all the cards that you get from the second wing of this expansion. Now you get a lot of class specific cards as well as a couple of non-class specific cards, but for the most part it's class specific cards. So yeah, let's go check this out. Also, before I get started, I know this video is a bit late. However, I feel that maybe with a week of experiencing these cards, I'll be able to give them a bit better of a review for you guys. So, yeah, here we go. Okay, so let's start. So from the second League of Explorers expansion, you received the Mounted Raptor, the Ethereal Conjurer, Keeper of Uldaman, Excavated Evil, Unearthed Raptor, Tunnel Trog, Dark Peddler, Fierce Monkey, Bram Bronzebeard, and a Tomb Spider. So let's head back to the start and we'll start talking about these cards. So the Mounted Raptor. Now, from a week of this wing being out, this card has seen a decent amount of play. It's a pretty fantastic card. It's essentially like a piloted shredder. However, a piloted shredder obviously costs one more and has one more stat on each, and will summon a bit better of a minion. The real advantage of this card is that you can play it a little quicker, and it trades up with a piloted shredder. So that would probably be the main advantage of it. However, if it's not trading up with a piloted shredder, and is, well, yeah, it still retains some value, as the 1-drop that usually comes out is actually pretty decent. So it'll trade with a 2-drop, and then you'll get another 1-drop, which will be able to maybe even kill another 2-drop. It can maybe kill, well, it can probably kill off another 1-drop. It can maybe even kill a 3-drop. So actually, that 1-drop can be really useful to you. This card is fantastic in Arena. I would definitely pick it if given the chance. And after a week of trying, well, I've seen it in some constructed decks. However, I don't really feel like it really helped a terrible amount in the constructed situation, because a 1-drop will usually get caught up on a board clear and it'll just die anyways. It also really kind of aids a hunter in a way, because a hunter will get Unleash the Hounds and they'll get an extra minion off the 1-cost drop that you had. So that means they'll be able to be even more aggro if they are face hunter. So it's a good card. However, it might not see a spot in too many constructed decks. I've seen like a decent amount in constructed play, but yeah, definitely a great card for Arena, and it'd be nice to see how it could fit into constructed a little bit more before I'd say that it would be in a lot of constructed decks. Anyways, let's go on to the next one. So the Ethereal Conjurer. Now this guy's really interesting to me. His stats are obviously terrible for a 5-drop, 6/3. However, the fact that you get a spell and you get to choose said spell, and it's a mage spell, is it's a very powerful effect, because this card can get you out of quite a few jams. If your opponent has a ton of sticky minions on the board, you could throw this out next turn, or throw this out either turn 5, turn 6, maybe get a Flame Strike, and then you're back in the game. If you have something like a mage that synergizes really well with spells, an extra spell can really help you in the long run. It could be really useful in something like Freeze Mage. If you already have the board frozen and you already have the board clear, you can just throw this guy down and you get an extra spell, an extra piece of damage to do to your opponent. So there is a decent amount of value in this card. However, just based on the stats, it's probably not something you want to run in a tempo deck, and probably it'll probably have a niche for constructed play. For Arena, Again, this discovering a spell is really powerful, so I probably wouldn't pick this over a ton of cards. However, I'd probably pick this over some cards. It's probably middle tier for Arena, if I would say. Just because of that Discover effect, just because it's so powerful. You get an extra card in your hand, so you gain that sort of tempo. And the minion itself could be used to kill something big off, especially if your opponent doesn't have a lot on the board and doesn't have an answer to it. So, I like this card. I think it's a really interesting card, and after a week of play, I can definitely see its value. So now we move on to the Keeper of Uldaman. Now, when I first looked at this card, I didn't think it would really be useful in too many scenarios. However, again, after a week of play, I can see its value now. You can throw out your muster for battle on turn 3, and then you throw out this guy, and then you buff one of your recruits, and then it's just a hell of a board to deal with, essentially. You have to deal with 2/1/1s, a 3/1, and a 3/4, and that can be really hard to deal with almost any deck. I think the only deck that could really deal with that would be, well, not all of it, but most of it would be a Hunter just with Unleash the Hounds. Well, I guess a Holy Nova would clear up most of it again. It's just a really sticky situation, especially if you have the board control. Keeper of Uldaman will definitely help you maintain that board control. He's a fantastic minion in Arena, because you can just summon out a recruit, and then you can buff it, and then you can kill off one of your opponent, make him waste a card, and you are essentially gaining a card just for your hero power. In Constructed, he's good. However, I feel he's a bit too slow. If he was a 3-cost card and he was a 3/3, I feel like he would be a bit better for constructed play. But I guess that would kind of also change his effect, because his effect also makes it so that the opponent's minion is weaker than him himself. So, very interesting card, a pretty useful card. I'd definitely say draft this in Arena. However, in Constructed, it is being tried right now, though I feel it is maybe just a bit too slow. Anyways, moving on. So, Excavated Evil. Probably one of the worst cards you're going to grab from this set. A priest already has a lot of pretty crappy board clear. It does have one very good, well, a couple of very good board clears with Light Bomb and Circle Heal Akanai Soul Priest. Akanai. Yeah, this is essentially just a crappier version of Holy Nova, which is a decent enough board clear on its own. Also, when you're a priest, you don't really want to throw cards into your opponent's deck, because fatigue game is a very real kind of idea, especially in control priest. You want to fatigue your opponent down. So this is the card that I've probably seen the least try it out of any of them. I've seen it tried in a couple of decks, and I'm pretty sure the deck that I faced with it lost. So, definitely would never pick this in Arena. Probably not going to find a spot in Constructed. It's just kind of a pretty trash card. Anyways, so I'm going to move on. Unearthed Raptor. Now, this guy is pretty interesting. The only problem with him is the fact that a rogue is very weapon centric, and of course this is a rogue card. A rogue does not want to use a whole lot of death rattle minions, because a rogue is probably just going to try and use his weapon to, well, absolutely obliterate you, hence Oil Rogue. This minion, however, can make things very sticky for your opponent. You summon a Piloted Shredder, you throw this on that. If your opponent isn't just going face, then they're going to want to clear these minions. They're going to have a really, really, really hard time doing so. So, he can essentially create 2 Piloted Shredders now for 1 less mana, except this guy even has better stats than a Piloted Shredder, so it's essentially a better Piloted Shredder. So yeah, he's a really good card. Not sure if he fits into the current meta, but not sure if he fits into this class. If he was a non-class specific card, this thing would be run everywhere, but since it's in Rogue, it's probably not going to see a shit ton of constructed play. On the other hand, in Arena, I would pick this card. Especially if you have a piloted Shredder, you can just use his Battle Cry on. Even if you had, say, a Haunted Creeper, you could even throw it on something like a Boombot if you did get it in Constructed. Even if you did get Dr. Boom in Arena, though that's very unlikely. So yeah, he's a really interesting minion. Would definitely pick him in Arena. Not sure if I would pick him in Constructed, just because a Rogue doesn't really have a deck that fits him right now. Fantastic card, powerful card, except I just don't see it having a spot in Constructed right now. Yeah. That's pretty much all I can say about the Unearthed Raptor. Alright, so on to the Tunnel Trog. Now this guy has seen quite a bit of play. It has actually helped the Shaman class quite a bit. It's essentially because the Shaman class is very... well, a Shaman wants to get board control and it wants to maintain board control because it doesn't have a lot of clear... well, it does have a few clear spells, but they're not very powerful clear spells and they're very random. This guy is also very useful because he's a lot like a Mana Worm, wherein if you throw out your Overload spells, even your Overload minions, you're going to get a bit of extra attack on him. So if you compare him to Mana Worm, he's a pretty fantastic card in almost any Shaman deck. So yeah, definitely would pick this card in Arena. Well, not definitely, actually. It kind of depends. If you see yourself getting quite a few Overload cards, much like a Mana Worm, where you see yourself getting quite a few spells, you're going to pick this card. If you don't, then you probably shouldn't. But in Constructed, he obviously sees a place. He sees a place because almost every good card that a Shaman will have is an Overload card. Like the 3x4 Totem, most of the board clears, Lava Burst, Crackle, like tons of great cards have Overloads. So great card in Constructed. If you get a lot of Overload cards in Arena, definitely pick them. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about him. He's a lot like a Mana Worm, but debatably maybe powerful because he actually can gain 2 attack off of some spells. So yeah, moving on. Now we're gonna go on to the Reliquary Seeker, I believe you got from this expansion. Yeah, you got the Reliquary Seeker. Okay, so this guy. Battlecry, if you have 6 other minions, gain +4/+4. Now, I might have made a mistake at the beginning of this video and said that you got Dark Peddler. I was wrong. Reliquary Seeker is definitely the one. Anyways, back to the card. This card is, well, he's pretty... I guess, is pretty trash. Just because if you actually have 6 minions on the board, you're probably going to summon something else. Like, you're probably going to want to use your mana for something else. Maybe you're at like 6 mana now, you're not going to want to throw down just this 1 cost card and then yeah, that's it for your turn. It also doesn't really help because when you drop a 1/1 on 1, your opponent's just going to laugh at you and probably drop something pretty, well, smaller, like drop a 2-drop that has probably a 3 health and 2 attack, and then it's just going to die. So there's not really a whole lot of point to having this minion. Even if you think about a Dreadsteed deck, you fill the board with Dreadsteeds and then you summon this guy. Why wouldn't you just summon, say, a Sea Giant or Kel'Thuzad or Baron? Well, you already probably summoned Baron Rivendare, but or just there are so many better choices. So this guy would never pick in arena. Probably was not going to see a whole lot of constructed play. Anyways, moving on. Fierce Monkey. Now this guy, he's actually pretty interesting and a pretty good card. I've seen him run in a couple of control warriors so far. The main thing I really like about the new taunt cards is they really play a lot with Bolster. Now Bolster is obviously the card that came with the Grand Tournament. It gives your taunt minions +2/+2. It also works really well as something like Sparring Partner. So I really like the taunt theme that the warrior is coming out with, and I feel like with maybe a few more cards that taunt decks could be really viable. Where you maybe would use something like a King's Defender, Sparring Partner, and a Bolster all in combo, or all in the same deck. It might be too slow to actually happen, but it would maybe be an interesting type of deck to explore, and maybe with a few extra cards it could be possible. So back to the Fierce Monkey here. Now the Fierce Monkey is essentially a spider tank, but with taunt. Now, and a beast tag also. You can't forget the beast tag. So you can't really laugh at this card. A spider tank's a really powerful card. If you see that in arena, you're obviously going to pick it. So if you see Fierce Monkey in arena, definitely pick him. In constructed, well, again, there isn't a whole lot that plays with the Bolster theme, so he'll probably just fit into a control warrior for now. I definitely see him having his place, and he's a really useful card. I've had some problems facing this card where he's really hard to clear out, and yeah, it's a really good card. Definitely would use in constructed, definitely would draft in arena, and in construct, well, not definitely would use. I would use in some decks in constructed. Let me rephrase that. And I definitely would pick this card in arena. So yeah, moving on. Now to the non-class specific cards finally. So here, the Tomb Spider. Let's check him out first. The Tomb Spider, Battle Cry, discover a beast. Now, the place that I really like to use this card is with Hunter, because a Hunter has a lot of cards that synergize really well with beasts. And this helps really push a control themed Hunter. I know that sounds really weird, but I really like the idea of a controlling themed Hunter where you can essentially just keep rehealing yourself and rehealing yourself until you survive. I have a concept for this so far with a Bran Bronzebeard plus Reno Jackson deck that work very well together. And when you use this guy with Bran Bronzebeard, you get to discover a beast twice. So that's also really interesting to note. The reason I do really like this card, and he synergizes really well with a lot of, well, especially with the Hunter deck, and maybe with the Beasts and Druid a little bit, is the fact that you can discover anything. Like, you can discover a Gazrilla, King Crush, and just use whatever you need to take your opponent down. I've seen this card used a bit in Arena, just because it gives you extra card draw, and it'll give you something that your opponent isn't really prepared for. It also is not terrible in stats. It's 3/3, which is actually better than some 4-drops who have some pretty damn good battle cry effects. So I would maybe pick this card in Arena if it's one of the better choices. It's probably a mid-tier Arena card. If you see a Boulder-Fist Ogre, pick the Ogre. But if you see this card over, like, I don't know, probably even a Flame Juggler, I'd probably pick this card over a Flame Juggler. Just thinking of a random card. So yeah, mid-tier Arena card. I really like it in constructed in Hunter decks. So yeah, a really interesting card. Maybe pick an Arena, use it in some constructed decks, pretty much. And now to the finale, the big man himself, Mr. Bran Bronzebeard. Now, Bran is a really interesting minion. after a week of play, he's kind of fizzled out a little bit, kind of like I had predicted initially. I feel like if Bran himself is going to actually have a deck designed around him, he'll also have to have some support cards. Also, for a deck to be designed around him, it'll have to be a very niche deck. Like, there's not gonna be a deck for every class with this card. It's gonna be maybe 1, 2, or 3 classes with maybe a couple decks that work. Maybe a couple decks that work with Bran Bronzebeard. He's gonna be a very niche minion, I think, from here on out, moving on to Hearthstone. Very much not like a Reno Jackson, where it's kind of intuitive and you can almost make a deck with any class with Reno Jackson and be quite successful. Bran Bronzebeard is a bit more, a bit less intuitive. So yeah, he's a really interesting card though. In terms of constructed, those are my opinions. In terms of arena, if you see legendaries, you're probably not going to pick this guy because there's probably going to be a couple of better legendaries. I'd probably pick him over, say, like, Lorewalker Cho, obviously, Millhouse Manastorm, Hemet, pretty much the obvious ones. He's probably about a mid-tier legendary, actually. So yeah, not a terrible legendary, I guess, to get in arena, but if you're gonna get a legendary, you probably want it to be a bit better than this. So yeah, that's pretty much what I think about Bran Bronzebeard. If you want to get him in arena, it's probably a mid-tier card. If you're looking at a constructed, you're probably gonna build a deck with him. He's gonna have a specific deck, and he's gonna stay there, and that's gonna be his niche. So yeah, those are my final opinions on Mr. Bran Bronzebeard. So that about wraps it up. The League of Explorers has been really fun so far. I've been really excited to see all the new cards and how they've impacted the meta, and they actually have had a bigger impact probably than the whole Grand Tournament did. Considering the Grand Tournament had what, like 2 or 3 good cards. Well, this expansion has already shown quite a few good cards. So yeah. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. If you made it this far, guys, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and have a good day.